All right, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I am not sure if you're aware of Sology Network, but I have been asked to have my own show called Authenticity on there. And when I was thinking about people I wanted to have on, I thought, I've got to have Jimmy on.
I love it. I'm so glad that you decided to do that. So, what is the mission of Sology so that I know what I'm doing here?
Well, authenticity is to showcase our community. And
Okay.
today's show, I obviously it's about being authentic. And I feel
Okay.
like you really example that. And
Yes.
I see you in your community. If you want to take a few minutes and tell the audience, all who are listening right now, who Jimmy is, about your law firm, what you do. And also, I wanted to let everybody know I met Jimmy on a heart based platform that is
Mhm.
more esoteric in
Yes.
minds. So you are very open minded and very
Yeah.
heart based and really part of that community that I speak of when I say community. And so go ahead and tell everybody who you are, Jimmy.
Okay. So, I am essentially, like you said, I am what I would consider a very heart-based human being at the core. That's really what I'm all about. I'm all about making the world a better place. As a career, I'm a lawyer, and I've had some experiences getting to where I am in my career and in my life that have kind of opened me up to some bigger ideas about what life is all about and what our purpose in being here on this earth and which where we're headed and how I could possibly contribute to the positive evolution of humanity.
And I really see you doing that every day. And I find your story very, very inspiring. And I don't know how much of that you want to share. I'll leave that up to you. But I know that you wrote a book called Come Back Stronger. Is that right?
Yeah, it's called When Life Knocks You Down, Come Back Stronger. So, just to give a little bit of background on me, I wasn't always a lawyer. I went to prison for 2.5 years before I became a lawyer. And I had some really interesting, I would say, kind of spiritual experiences while I was in prison and coming out of prison that kind of shifted my mentality about what life is all about. And I would say it made me a better man. It made me a better person. But it also expanded my mind in terms of what's possible for individuals as human beings, and also what's possible for humanity as a whole. And so my focus every day when I wake up in the morning is what can I do to contribute the most to making the world a better place. And I've found that when I live with that and the sort of as the operating system of my mind, it's almost like the wind is at my back, and I'm living what I would call in a state of grace where things happen extremely easy for me. I have no problems. I have no real problems whatsoever, and my life is just falling into place almost as if the next step is lighted for me as I take it. So it's really, really kind of an exciting place to be.
It is exciting. And that's why I said you're a real example of what is possible for humanity. And for those on the path of the evolution of our own identity and our embodiment of what we call our higher self and form, and how all the practices that we put in place to be in this moment now. And I know, excuse me, I know that you are very family oriented. I know
Yeah.
that you're in your community. I see you on your Instagram posts. I'm aware of you on TikTok. Your presence is on many platforms, and your
Hmm.
message is strong. And the topic I really wanted to share today between you and I is about unity
Okay.
and what unity consciousness is. And
Okay.
what it is for me, it means unite,
Yes.
unity, to unite with all, and that it's all encompasses.
Hmm. Yeah.
Spirituality, science, religion. I've heard you
Yeah.
speak about religion lately. And so, what when you think of unity, Jimmy, and you are in your community with your
Yeah.
family,
Hmm.
how does that play out for you? Even the esoteric aspect of where we're going as a collective.
Okay, so I'm just going to give you the story, the deepest, most esoteric part of my story, and because it's going to tie into that very question. First of all, let me background it by saying that unity is ultimately, in my opinion, the entire purpose of our existence. Is we're headed. That's where humanity is headed. I believe that all the good stuff that happens in the world happens because of the feeling of connection, of us being together and realizing that everything that we do, everything that I do affects you, and everything you do affects me, even though we don't even know. We might not even know each other. That every tiny little decision that we make affects the whole for all eternity, and it affects it in big, massive ways, not just little ways. But I learned this through a really cool experience. I was in, I was, I just had a child, my first child, Sophia, and I really wanted to be the best dad that I could possibly be. I wanted to be the best husband that I could possibly be for my wife. And so I decided that I was going to stop drinking, and so I went to the Alcoholics Anonymous type thing, and I was working a third step in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is surrendering to your higher power.
Mm.
So I'm reading Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer, and I'm trying to and the Bible, and I'm asking myself, what is my higher power? Do I even believe in a higher power? Do I believe that there's a God? What does that mean to me? And so I spent like 2 weeks obsessing over this, and I sat in my car, and because Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra recommend meditation, I said, okay, I'm going to try to meditate. And so I did the Om meditation. And so I'm
Mm.
sitting in my car, I lean it back, I'm in a church parking lot waiting for this Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I prayed and I said, God, I don't know what to call you. I don't know if you exist. I don't even know if I believe in you, but whatever force there is, whatever power there is that controls this world, I surrender to you 100%. And then I started doing this Om meditation, and I'm breathing in. Oh, I'm going Om, Om. And then all of a sudden it was as if something came over me. And I started taking in these deep, deep breaths and letting out these huge bellowing moans. And it was like I was releasing something. It was like this energy was being released from me. And all of a sudden I felt a tingling sensation down in my private area,
Mhm.
and it spread, and it was extremely powerful, and then it spread up my spine, down my legs, and then when it got to the top of my head, I went, "Ugh," and I was breathless and in ecstasy for about 20 minutes. It was the most profound experience I'd ever had up until that point in my lifetime. And during this 20 minutes, I got this, what I call a download of information. And the download basically said um, that we are safe, loved, and protected beyond anything we could possibly imagine. That there are no accidents. Everything is exactly as it's supposed to be. And all of the pain and the suffering and the misery that I had experienced up until that point of my life was teaching me the lessons that I needed to learn to become the man that I had become up until that point of the life in my life, so that I could contribute the most to making this world a better place. And
What
so
year was that, Jimmy?
what's that?
What year was that you had this experience?
2009.
Okay.
2009. Yeah, 2009. And so when uh, so another part of the message was that we are all connected, and that everything that I do affects you, everything you do affects me, and that um, that the reality that we experience is that the reality we experience is directly related to our consciousness, and that we have the power to change our own reality, and also the reality of everybody else that's living on this planet. That's how powerful we are. So it was a really profound experience, and it shaped my reality. It shaped the way I see things, and it led to some actually even more profound experiences that I'll get into if you want, if you
I would
like for
love
me.
to hear more, of course.
Okay. Okay. Well, so essentially, the big message was it's all about unity. Life is about us unifying and having that and understanding that we are one. We are all one, and that all of the evil that we experience in the world is really just a manifestation of the illusion of separateness, and that all of the good that we experience in the world is a manifestation of the unity consciousness. In fact, love is nothing more than unity consciousness. It is unity consciousness in action, because when you really love somebody, it's as if you are one with that person, like a child. And like, obviously, I have three daughters, and if they hurt, I hurt, and if
Mhm.
they're happy, I'm happy, and that's true love. They are a part of me as much as my hands and my feet. That's unity consciousness. That's love, and that's what it's all about.
And I love that for me as well. I would say that unity means love, right? Love as the
Mhm.
action.
Yes.
And
That,
right now, uh, I seen you. I don't know. Did you send me that video about religion and it was speaking about Genesis?
yes. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not very familiar. I mean, I'm familiar with the Bible in
Yeah.
a sense that I have read it, but not in its totality.
Okay. Gotcha.
How do
Gotcha.
you
So
see religion and the spiritual community at the moment? Are we uniting in this now?
I believe that we are, that the religion is evolving just like everything else. I believe that the entire game that that we're experiencing is a game involving evolution, and it's at this point it's an evolution in consciousness, and religion is a huge part of that. I believe that the Bible has been. I think at the end of the day that it's uh, it a lot of times is being interpreted way too literally, and that we've gotten away from the main message of the Bible, which is exactly what we're talking about, which is unity consciousness. The biggest lesson that Jesus taught was love your neighbor as yourself. That is the very definition of unity consciousness. And
Mhm.
so that's the big message that I see churches, a lot of church leaders are going toward teaching teaching about unity consciousness. I think that's going to be a direction that we see a lot of things going.
And that is a really great point, right? That
Mhm.
religion is also evolving and the
Yes.
people within those communities. And that's
Yes.
why it was really important for me to have this conversation with you because I know that you're involved in those communities as well and that you bring your light and your knowledge and your love to those places. And so for me, unity conscious means, like I said at the beginning of the show, is all.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
when we see them as separate from us, religion, or someone who perhaps doesn't believe in God or whatever their views are, once we see them as separate, we're not in that union,
Yeah.
in
Yes. That's
union.
right.
And
That's
so it's
right.
really important for me for us to have these conversations so that we can come together and evolve together.
Hmm.
Because some people, there's been wars in the name of
Yeah.
religion.
A lot of wars in the name of religion, a lot of deaths, a lot of murders. a lot of horrible tragedies in the name of religion. But this is all part of the evolutionary process. This is where this is that the pain that we've experienced as humanity is part of the lessons that we're learning they're going to make humanity. It's going to make humanity a unified, a very unified society. And so I'm excited about that. But we had to go through there to get to here. I learned one of the things about going to prison that I learned that I wouldn't sell this lesson for $1 billion. And that is that the pain that we experience temporarily as
Just a second,
human
Jimmy.
beings,
We're getting some
it can,
sort of feedback from you.
oh, okay. Let's see what I
I
can
don't
do.
hear it now. It went away.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. The lesson you learned in prison. Go ahead.
That I would not sell for $1 billion is that the pain that we experience, um, not just as individuals, but also as societies, those are, those experiences provide us the lessons we need to learn to get to where we are ultimately going, which is exactly that, which is unity consciousness. So, yes, the wars and the horrible tragedies that have been related to religion, that was part of our evolution. And, the part of the natural evolution of where we're headed. But the beauty of it is that that we are headed to a very, very good place. Can you imagine a society where everybody walking around is feels that love and connection for everybody else? That's where we're headed.
Absolutely.
That's a fearless. You don't have to be afraid of anything or anyone. You're you're free to be open and loving and caring, and when you don't have to hold those blockages over your heart for everybody you see because you don't know if you can trust them or not. That's where we're headed, and it's really, really exciting.
It is exciting. I feel the same way, Jimmy, completely. And it's profound because the less trauma we have within ourselves and society,
Mhm.
as we surrender, as you say,
Yes.
as we let go of the past and in
Yeah.
forgiveness, right? We forgive those trespasses
Yes.
and move forward together is so important. And I really feel that we're doing that. I may be over here on the Sology platform that is not Jimmy in Florida, at his law firm or at his church, but we're all walking each other home.
Yes. 100. I wholeheartedly agree. I wholeheartedly agree that what you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and you're doing exactly what you are meant to be, and you're bringing light to this very issue, which I very much appreciate. I really want to share what happened after that experience that I had.
And
I feel compelled to share. This was so I have this experience, and next thing, and so I pick up the phone. The whole process kind of reversed itself, and I'm just sitting there breathless. I pick up my phone and I call my buddy Silas, who I know is into meditation. And so I called him. I said, "What just happened to me?" And um, he said, "If I didn't know any better, I think you had a Kundalini awakening." And I go, "Kundalini, what is that?" And so I look it up, and this is absolutely fascinating. I had never in my life heard of Kundalini. But so I look it up, and it turns out that it's pretty common for people who have completely surrendered themselves to God or a higher power to have this Kundalini awakening. And the idea behind the Kundalini awakening is that there's this energy that is stored down in our sacral area, and that this energy, in most people that are walking around, it just stays there. But if you have a Kundalini awakening, it moves up the spine and moves up the spine, and then it clears out all of your chakras. So that's another esoteric concept that I didn't really understand. So, so I'm reading about this. I'm like, wow, this is a whole new world for me. I didn't even know that it existed. And so I all of a sudden I'm sitting at about 2 weeks later, I'm sitting at a red light, and I feel this. It's like a pinprick in the crown of my head. It's like somebody literally sticking a needle in there. It was like, it's really painful. And then all of a sudden, it just felt like, it's like there was this release, like somebody popped a balloon, and then I felt that ecstasy again coming through my body. And I was like, what just happened? I'm literally sitting at a red light. There was nothing that inspired this at all. And so, but I had that ecstasy feeling again, and I was like, something really important just happened. And then a couple weeks later, I'm at the gym and I'm doing curls on a machine, and the same thing happens right here. And it turns out, I know now, having studied this stuff, what was happening was, after the Kundalini awakened, my chakras were opening. And it became to the point where I could actually feel my chakras, like I can feel my fingers. And I still have that ability to this day. I literally feel my chakras. And so what happened over time is all the chakras open, and then a lot of people that talk about chakras, they don't know this, but there are actually chakras all over your body. It's because I got a bunch of them just popped on my arms, and it just kind of opened me up. And then all of a sudden, it started to connect. All the chakras started to connect, and it created this column that now these days, this was, back in 2009. So it's 2023 right now, 14 years later. And I can feel this energy that is coming down and going through me and going into the earth and actually coming back up, and going back out is kind of a cyclical thing, but it's really exciting and cool because it feels good. It's a really happy, I guess you would say elated state that I'm living in, every moment of every day. And it's very, very cool. And I hope that is exactly where I want everybody to feel this good. I want everybody, if everybody felt this good all the time, then everybody would be happy and we would have a much better society. So I think that is part of this evolutionary process that that we're all kind of headed toward.
Yeah, I feel like it's a domino effect. I feel like by you
Hmm.
doing that, myself and others,
Yeah.
it's naturally going out. Like you said, it's coming in, we put it out, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
everybody's doing it at their own pace, I always say, and coming along on their own journey, and
Hmm.
their Kundalini awakening or their chakras aligning and unifying. All of
Yeah.
this, I know it's been a slow evolution to where we are
Hmm.
today,
Hmm.
but I see change. I
Hmm.
not only see change out there, but I see change within me. And
Yes.
and in your smile, I love the fact that you take every day like it's your last day. I don't know if everybody, well, they're going to know now because I know this about you, Jimmy. You wake up early in the morning.
I
You're
do.
very good about working out,
Hmm.
spiritual routine, your family time. I've seen you break dance. I've seen
Yeah.
you on the X Factor now. I've seen you do some beautiful things. I was on your Facebook page and I seen that you did a community drive or some sort of for back to school supplies,
Yes.
and it
Yes.
touched my heart so much. And you really, your message on coming back stronger is that you're an example, an embodiment of every single moment of your day and your
Hmm.
goal. You s- stick with them, and
Yes.
you're on Facebook and you're on Instagram and TikTok and showing us all the life that you're living.
Hmm.
And some days, to be honest with you, Jimmy, the light body functions a little different for me now.
Hmm.
It
Mm.
can't always go 100 all the time.
Mm.
I I am physically stronger than I ever was. For
Uh-huh.
51, I can do push-ups and,
Uh-huh.
and stay toned. I can go for miles and miles of jogs and hikes. And it used to be that I would be sore when I got home, and now I'm not. The next
Mm-hmm.
day,
Oh,
you
that's
couldn't even
awesome.
tell that I went.
That's awesome.
So the
That is
body is
fantastic.
coming along. Would you say?
Is Yeah, that is fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that the body is coming along as well, that
Yeah.
it is evolving, and the light body and the physical body are merged.
Mm-hmm.
Once those
Mm-hmm.
chakras align, then everything else starts aligning and
Yes.
progressing. How
Yes.
how do you stay so disciplined in your day to day? From the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed, just seems like it's filled every single moment.
So, I'm not disciplined at all. I'm I'm just going with the flow. I just do what feels right, and it works out awesome for me because I love working out. I love meditating. I love. I'm doing. I sit in my hot tub and then I jump into the cold plunge. I
I've
think, and
seen
that's
that.
super fun. And I love taking care of myself. I love my business. I love my practice. I love my family. So it's easy. It's not work. So this is what I want to encourage everybody. I want everybody, even no matter where you are on your spiritual journey, where you are headed is freedom. This is where you're headed. And so being part all the little things that happen in your life is guiding you in that direction, in the direction of freedom. So this is what I was about to say that I don't think I finished my thought on it. What I learned by going to prison was it was kind of like a metaphor or an analogy for what I believe life is all about. And that is that when I was in prison, I it was extremely painful. And I'm talking about fearful, painful, gut-wrenching pain, loneliness, just really bad. And you can imagine, it was just a terrible place to be. So, but then what I learned was when I got out of prison, I appreciated my freedom
Mm.
1,000 times more than I had ever appreciated it while I was before I had gone to prison. So that's why I think what's happening, this whole game plan, this whole life that we're experiencing, the challenging parts, the painful parts, it's very much like being in prison. But the good news is that it's because eventually we are all going to be free. I don't know where you are in that journey, but you are headed towards freedom. And I believe what happens is that this is just a very temporary life. It's tiny. It's a tiny life. Um, in the grand scheme of things, it's a wisp in the wind. And so I believe what happens is that freedom continues to grow and grow throughout the evolution of ourselves through eternity, which is really exciting. It's really exciting because we're literally just scratching the surface.
I would say you're right. We're just literally scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Indeed. In my life, I am free.
Hmm. Yes.
And freedom is a feeling, right?
Yes.
It's like you said, a state of grace. When
Hmm.
you start embodying all those thought patterns and all the things that we've learned up till now,
Hmm.
knowing what freedom is, it's physicalized in
Hmm.
me.
Hmm. Yes.
Every breath I take.
Hmm.
And self-worth, we speak about self-worth
Yeah.
and showing up. This
Hmm.
being on this platform and being in front of a computer, and a camera so that the world can hear, was me pushing through some big fears.
Mm.
And so I know we're evolving.
Yeah. I think you're doing great. I think you're doing amazing. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, I mean, it's just really important that, well, I usually have so far, I think this is my fourth or third show. I think it's my fourth. But I have only had women or feminine,
Okay.
balanced.
Okay.
And so you're the balanced masculine to me. And so
Wow.
I feel like it's really important to have both, that I have women and men, so that we can see from a masculine's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
from someone who embodies all
Yeah.
the things that we've been speaking about, so that, go ahead, you want to say
Can I
something?
ask you? I have a question for you. Why did you choose to call it authenticity?
It's important to me that everyone is authentic
Okay.
to their true essence of who they are,
Okay.
re- regardless of what society
Mm-hmm.
thinks or
Yeah.
wants us to be.
Yeah.
That is the biggest fear. Is peer. I feel that people are afraid to be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Who
Mm-hmm.
am I without the, maybe perhaps the victim mentality, or
Mm-hmm.
without my job? Who am I
Mm-hmm.
without my husband? Who am I
Mm-hmm.
without my friends? Who
Mm-hmm.
am I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That authenticity is who I want the show to represent.
Mm-hmm.
Who
Gotcha.
brings that forth?
Mm-hmm.
That person in Jimmy is who I want everybody to see, and in me, the vulnerabilities. I can tell you before the show, I was having um, doubts about going live. I was
Mm.
experiencing some release this morning and some tears. I have to
Mm.
make some decisions about moving, and it was coming up to be released, and I was feeling these emotions. And then I surrendered. I
Mm.
just went
Oh, you're
into,
back already. You came
hey,
back
Todd.
early.
Hey,
I
Todd, we
thought you
can
were
hear
my
you,
mother.
Todd.
You said you got-
Todd, I don't know if you realize, but we can hear you. I'm going to send him a text and let him know that we can hear him. You want to tell us another something while I text him?
Okay. Okay. Let's see what I can come up with.
We're going to be spontaneous. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay.
Fill the screen with something fun.
I want to tell y'all a story since we're getting kind of deep here. This is a great story. It's one of my favorites. Um, so 2009 is when I had the Kundalini awakening, and then 2010, 2011, I was having these horrible financial problems. I really couldn't focus on my law practice. I'm a lawyer. I couldn't focus on my law practice. When you have a Kundalini awakening, when you have a Kundalini awakening, uh, nothing else seems to matter. I just wanted to basically have that experience again, and I wanted to learn about what happened. So at the end of the day, I started
Or
having
did you
these
get
terrible
tested?
financial problems. And
Give me one second.
okay,
This is
we'll wait.
this is
We'll wait.
this is
we're gonna,
perfect. We're being authentic on the
wash
show.
some clothes, wash some towels for you.
It'll
No,
be,
no, we're gonna do it.
it'll be funny.
We're
I'm
gonna
calling
take it
him
back
right
to
now.
Colin.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think we're gonna. Let's do this. Uh-oh.
Hey, Todd.
We can. Oh.
Todd. He got the message, I think.
You got the message. You got the
He got
message.
the
I got you.
message.
All right, so I'm going to start this story again because this is a really good story.
Okay.
Um, so I'm having these financial problems. 2011 comes along, and I'm learning more about spirituality. I'm learning about chakras and all this stuff. And in fact, I think that's when we met.
We
We
met in
we
2013, I think, or
was
2012.
it 2013? Okay, all right. So here comes 2011, and it's almost 11/11/11. And so um, my house is being foreclosed on. My car is repossessed. The IRS has frozen my bank account. And I am desperate. I'm worried about losing my law practice. My law partners had asked me from financial documentation because they were considering throwing me out of the partnership. So it was not good. It was not a good place to be. So my wife and I talked about it, and we basically said, we're just going to let it go. We're just going to let it go into the universe. Um, if we lose the law practice, I said, I'll wash cars if I have to. We'll do whatever. As long as we stay together, as long as we stay unified, we're going to be fine. And so I meant it. We hugged, we cried, and I meant it. Next thing you know, that night, I had this dream. And in the dream, it's one of those dreams it's a lucid dream, but it wasn't just a lucid dream. It was real. It was as if I'm literally on in a stadium, and there are thousands of people and they're cheering me on, and I'm about to walk across a stage and get a diploma. I'm graduating. And so I look next to me, and here's my mom and here's my dad, and then I look over to my left, and there's this woman that I have known for my entire life that is would be kind of an evil character. She was not a nice woman. And I go, what are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, Jimmy, I love you so much. She says, I came to Earth to play the role of this evil person in your life so that you could learn the lessons you needed to learn to become the man that you've become. And I am so proud of who you've become. And she gave me a hug, and I could feel her love, and it was tangible. And I just started bawling like a baby, just sobbing. And I wake up with real tears coming out of my eyes, and I wake my wife up, and I told her the story, and she just hugged me for about an hour, and I just let go I just cried. And during that cry, I let go of all the pain and anger and resentment that I had had, not only toward that person, but toward anyone who had ever done me wrong or anyone who had ever done anyone wrong. It was a confirmation of what I had learned back in 2009, that everything is exactly as it's supposed to be. That even the people in our lives that play the bad characters are put there to teach us the lessons we need to learn to become who we're supposed to become. That every single tiny thing that happens to us in our life is for our eternal benefit. That the pain that we suffer now is temporary, but the wisdom we gain is eternal. And so I was able to let go of a lot of really bad energy during that cry. And then so that night, I said, that night I started having headaches, horrible headaches. It felt as if my brain was being rewired, as if there were laser beams that were just cutting grooves into my brain. And so these headaches, I would go to the emergency room and they can't do anything for me. Then I go to the emergency room the next day and they can't do anything for me. And I'm just suffering through these horrible, horrible headaches. I was literally praying for God to take my life because they were so bad. So finally I say, I'm just going to go power through this. I lock the door to the room. This is on a Sunday. I think this is on 11/11/11. And I lock my door to the room. And I say, I'm just going to meditate through this. And so when I lay down to meditate, I felt this energy come over my body, and it went over my whole body. And I heard a voice in my head that said, this is your cocoon. When you come out of this, you will have ascended in consciousness. And so I was like, whoa, I'm not moving until something happens here. And so next thing you know, I see my eyes are closed, but in my mind's eye, I can see 11, the numbers 11, 11, 11. And it was like looking at a high definition big screen TV with like 3D. And the numbers, they were like made of this liquid metal material. It was just very, very vivid, bright numbers. And then all of a sudden, these 11s lined up one after the other, and then I could see a row of it looked like maybe like an infinite number of 11s, and then they started shooting into my third eye right here, like machine gun bullets. And I'm in bed and I'm shaking. And next thing you know, when that was done, I found myself in this other dimension. And it was fascinating because I was not just, I was in this other dimension, but I was also conscious of being in my bed meditating.
Mhm.
And so, and so in this other dimension, long story short, this it's like the medieval times, and these guards are guarding these doors, and they open up the doors, and this dark energy comes out, and the guard comes up to me and he says, "It's time to release this," in like this real deep voice. "It's time to release this." And the next thing you know, this dark energy comes into my body, and then it goes out of my head, and then I'm just shaking in bed, and this energy is leaving me. And then after it was gone, I heard the same voice, and it basically said, "Congratulations, you just released all of your self-defeating programs."
Wow.
Next thing you
That
know,
was really on in 2011.
that was in 2011. It was, yeah, yeah. And next thing you know, I open my eyes and the headaches are gone. Not only are they gone, I felt like I was on top of the world. I felt like I was on ecstasy. It was, I was elated. I was literally walking on a cloud for the next couple of days. And then, remember what the voice said was, "You just released all your self defeating programs."
Yes.
I made $600,000 that week. That
That
week, I made
week.
six
That
hundred
week.
thousand dollars in personal income, paid off my tax debt, bought me not a new one, but bought me a Lexus, um, uh, uh, took care of the house, everything. We were golden, and ever since then, I haven't had a single financial problem. Exactly the opposite. Everything has been phenomenal, and I've just been living in that state of grace. So I think the big lesson is that I think that obviously that dark energy was just me holding on to all of this, the pain and the anger and the resentment, and I was able to let all that go. It was, it was a 3 day process. It was a 3 day process. It started off with the dream, and then and then the headaches. I think my brain was literally being rewired, and then the release, the vision with the release, and then the next thing you know, that's it. My whole life has changed. I'm a completely different person. My everything about my life is different.
And that's been over, 13 years. That's been
Yes.
13 years ago or something like that, 12 years
Yeah.
ago. And so
Yeah.
what are your practices that you maintain now?
So now I meditate pretty much every day. I try to meditate every day, but at the end of the day, um, I can. I really don't have to do anything to maintain. But I just do it. It just comes natural to me to work out, take care of myself, sit down in silence, and meditate. I don't like schedule it. It just happens. It happens every day. And so everything, my whole life is just basically flowing, going with the flow, and just letting one foot go in front of the other, and just the path seems to light itself up for me along the way. And so I really, I hope everybody can experience this at some point. They will. I believe everybody's going to experience it. If you're not already experiencing it, I suspect you're already experiencing it. So, but I want people to know that it is very, not only is it possible, this is our birthright. This is what we came here for. And, and it's going to happen. If it doesn't necessarily happen in this life, it's going to happen in the next one, or maybe the next one. But I think that it could happen for anyone right now in this lifetime.
At any time.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I believe the key to it is a sincere desire to surrender. Surrender is an absolute key. And then it becomes a deeper and deeper level of surrender. As you evolve, it doesn't end once you surrender. It's not over. It just gets deeper and deeper levels of it, and you get deeper and deeper knowledge about how things work. And I could share some of that with you, but it's going pretty deep.
Well, our audience, I mean, we still have about 10 minutes. Our audience that's listening right now, they are very open-minded.
Okay.
They like deep
Okay.
stuff. I know that I
Okay. All
do.
right. All right. Well, then
So
I'm going to hit you
go
with it.
ahead.
I know that you already are familiar with this idea, but this is a concept that has grown on me over time, and it's the concept of us all being a universe unto ourselves, and the idea that each and every one of us is moving in the direction of understanding, of actually claiming our natural birthright to be our own universe. And so the idea is that there are not just us, but there's an infinite number of possible realities. Every one of us is experiencing a reality that is our own. It's perfect. It's nobody else is going to experience your reality, and nobody's going to experience my reality. But we're all experiencing our very own reality, and that we actually have our own universes, and um, we're constantly shifting timelines based on the energy that we put out there, and so the energy that we have inside. So the reality that we experience is a reflection of our state, our mental and emotional and spiritual state on the inside. And so we're constantly shifting realities because we have the 100% unbridled power to do that. And because this is basically, it's a I mean, it's a godlike power. It is a godlike power, is what it is. We're navigating the infinite possibilities, and it's really exciting because the more we evolve and the more we grow in our ability to do that navigation into some place that we prefer, as opposed to some place that we don't prefer. So it's super exciting.
And
It's
it comes
crazy.
with great responsibility.
Yes. Yes, it comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility because there are it's fascinating because there's a paradox there. There's a paradox there in the sense that the reality that I'm experiencing is the people in that reality are one of an infinite number of people that could be in the reality, and they could be making choices. They're all making choices that are consistent with my energy, and the reality you're experiencing is experiencing a reality where other people are making choices that are consistent with your energy. So it's all a reflection of you, which is incredibly fascinating, but it's paradoxical because it makes you think, well, what if I really thought that, then I could just be an asshole to everybody, and that would be great. Then it's because I'm God. So you have a God complex and you think you could
Right.
just do whatever you want. But that's not really how it works. What the way that it works is that we are all one. Everybody else is a reflection of me, which means that if I do anything to anyone else, I'm doing it to myself, and vice versa. So it's a fascinating, amazing, paradoxical concept that we're all one, and that and but it's empowering, but it's also a tremendous sense of responsibility.
Yes, because we talk about, Atlantis and Lemuria times, and
Mhm.
that we had these superpowers,
Yeah.
and that had godlike abilities, and that these things were taken away from us because we didn't use that responsibility. And that's why it's so important when we
Yeah.
talk about doing the inner work,
Hmm.
because how are you handed such power like abilities like
Hmm.
God?
Hmm.
if you're not going to
Hmm.
use them responsibly
Right.
to assist the whole.
Yeah.
Again, we're going back to unity.
Yeah.
Everything that we do moving forward is aligned with all concerned.
Hmm.
It has to
Yeah.
be about the all.
Hmm.
And you have that view, especially how you just explained all your deep esoteric experiences, your Kundalini awakening, your visceral experience in a dream, all these things that you're experiencing and being on the forefront of what's possible with ascension and still being in. And we were talking about religion. How do you bring religion, this part of you, into your
Hmm. Hmm.
community, your religious community?
So I was raised Baptist,
Hmm.
and I've always struggled with the concept of hellfire and brimstone, of a God, a loving God that would allow his children to burn in hell for eternity. That concept has not sat well with me. And when I had the Kundalini awakening, it was just confirmation that I don't believe that God would do that. I believe that we are uh, that that God is fully invested in us because God lives and breathes through us.
Hmm.
We are God, and God is us, and therefore, God's not going to punish himself. The only reason God would ever punish anybody is because of if the long term benefits outweigh the temporary gain, because God's totally invested. So how do I how do I reconcile that? I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
it's a struggle for me, and I'm still trying to understand how to reconcile it. And I think it may come down to the idea that I believe that Jesus's teachings are very much in alignment with what I experienced in the download on the day in 2009 in my car meditating, and that I believe that a lot of the biblical stuff that I was taught was the Word of God, which was actually, we know, written by man, by
Right.
men. That a lot of the biblical stuff has been taken out of context.
Jimmy.
I'm on a podcast.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Has been taken out of context, and that the main message and the main story behind Jesus's life, which has testimony, has three people, several people testifying about it. If you see that part, and you can see this is what it's all about. Jesus was way ahead of his time, and he was teaching unity consciousness 2,000 years before the whole what you and I call the ascension process started. Yeah, started happening.
Well, beautiful. Thank you for coming on my show. Is there anything else you want to talk about? You want to talk about your book? You can obviously use this space to tell people about your book and who you are and where they can find you.
I just want to say how awesome I think you are, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to do this. And I'm excited about the path that you're taking and the path that you're opening up for other people. Thank you so much for doing this, Hannah. It's very, very nice.
Thank you for being on the show. And let's somehow along the road, I'm sure we'll co create together again.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. 100%. I would love that.
Keep shining your light in Florida as an attorney, right? You do injury.
Yeah, I'm a personal injury attorney in Tallahassee, Florida. So, um, and I go throughout the state. And yeah, I have a book. It is available on Amazon. It's called "When Life Knocks You Down, Come Back Stronger." You can buy it on audiobook or you can buy it as a paperback book.
Beautiful. Be blessed and let's talk soon.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
for
everybody.
sharing this space with me today.
Yes,
Bye bye.
thank you.